Thanks for tuning in on The Record, a place where culture creators put it all on the record. I'm your host, Arturo.
And I'm Rashida. Thanks for tuning in. So what we got going on today?
Oh, I'm excited today.
For real?
We have a iconic, I can't even put the words into what I need to say, to introduce this amazing sports and entertainment attorney. Mm-hmm. I'm not revealing his name just yet because, for the viewers, we got to, build this momentum up. We have to lay the red carpet, and then when we announce him, then, everything, the bells and whistles are there.
Yes.
But he's represented some of the most prolific gospel artists and artists around the world.
Wow.
Amazing, from Twinkie Clark, from the famous Clark sisters, legendary. Mm-hmm. He's represented TV shows like Real Housewives of Atlanta, Real Housewives of Potomac.
My favorite.
Growing Up Hip Hop.
Uh-huh.
Listen, he hails from Hartford, Connecticut.
Wow.
I'm heating up.
Right.
He went to Howard University.
I know that's right.
He went to law school at Yale University. Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, I am talking about none other than attorney James L. Walker.
Woo!
Thank you. Thank you. Hearing that, I'm like, who are you talking about? But thank you, brother. Thank you.
I love that. And thank you for joining us, Mr. Walker. I hear that you're a tough man to get an interview with.
I just spend my head down working in all our different businesses here, globally in London, New York. I'm admitted in several states, so I'm traveling all the time between Connecticut, New York, D.C., and Atlanta. I have homes in every area, so I'm usually working in those states as well as doing our Broadway stuff with our plays.
And that is amazing. I'm going to talk to you about the Broadway stuff in a little bit, but okay. I just want to give you, the guests, a full description of what you got going on because you have a lot going on. So not only are you a sports and entertainment attorney, you are a Broadway producer, just like he said, an author, business owner, TV analyst, philanthropist, and you co-own the famous Museum of Broadway. And that is just like the tippy top of what everything he does every day. So I just wanted to say again, thank you. It's an honor to have you here and to have you sit down and share this moment with us.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. I respect Carmen Simmons so much for what she does and for what she puts back into the culture. So when she reached out, I said it's time to do this. I've been in Atlanta for about a decade, and I don't think I've done a single interview like this in Atlanta.
Wow.
Ooh, so we get the exclusive. Okay, we'll take it.
Wow, yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, so let's put it on the record. Hey, listen, I want to jump into, for the viewers, for the audience, for the world, how did this start? Did mom and dad, sing and songwrite or play instruments, or were they attorneys, or, how did all of this,
Sure. Well, praise God for my mom, Dolores Walker, who raised me. She was in Bridgeport, Connecticut, where I grew up, Bridgeport and Hartford. But Bridgeport primarily, lived in the Hartford area after law school. But mom, single mom, had me at 18, had my sister at 17, working for a company in Bridgeport, and just always believed in me. Just always told me, you can do this, you got this. I used to get pinched by her because I would finish my work fast, and the teachers would call her down. And she would come into school, take me to a bathroom. You remember those days?
Oh, I remember those days.
You didn't want to go to the bathroom with mom.
No.
It went from age 5, where they go in there and use the bathroom, Jay. I'll wait out here, to age 8. I'm coming in the bathroom with you, and we're going to deal with what's going on in first grade. So I remember first and second grade vividly.
Wow.
But she kept me on the tight and narrow, and she just always pushed me. She told me when we went to Howard, I only had my summer savings. I did a construction job. And I went to Howard with about $500 in my pocket. And she had put me in music early on to keep me out of trouble in Bridgeport. I was just buying stolen mopeds. I was just doing knucklehead stuff, just getting in a little silly teenage dumb stuff I was doing. So she sent me to work with my uncle, but they always kept me in music. She had me in high school band playing trumpet. Then I found out girls like the piano playing. So I started playing piano and started playing for my grandfather's church. And I was doing the church and weddings just all over town. And then I got to Howard. I was in Howard's band. I've never really told anybody that. I was in Howard's marching band for my first year. Just like first semester, and then got a little tough. They was like trying to pledge you back then in bands. And I was kind of like, I ain't trying to be pledged to join the band. So I kind of stepped away from that, but I stayed with music.
What instrument did you play?
I played trumpet. I played trumpet. And I still want to put together like a quartet. Yeah. I still fool around with it. And I have a piano or keyboard everywhere I go.
Really?
My Connecticut house, our Brooklyn house. I just brought one for our DC house. And here in Atlanta, I have a baby grand. And in my office, I have one in my office against the wall, because I feel music is a release. And I feel like you should have the things around you that allow you to just get a minute. Like you're doing all these corporate deals, you're doing all these litigation cases, and managing all these different attorneys that work with me. So when you get through with all of that, you have to say, hey, I just need to walk over here for a minute, play a song on the piano, and kind of recalibrate and decompress. So music has always been a part of it. And when I got to college, I took it from the music side of playing to the music side of promoting concerts and plays. So at 19 or 20, I was doing Shelley Garrett, David Talbot plays. Then when I got out of school, Tyler Perry plays. And by doing them, I mean like being the promoter. Wow. If they were coming to Connecticut or DC, the national promoter would hire me and have me be, the local guy, running to the radio station, putting up posters, hiring a team. I was in Howard and had an assistant, my junior year Howard, to help me promote shows and parties. And a lot of people know. So now,
what age is this, James? Not to interrupt you, but what age is this?
I started at Howard at 17.
Okay.
And by the time I was 19, I was making $100,000 a year.
What?
Come on.
Yeah.
At 19?
Come on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I was doing parties every weekend. Me and a guy named Frank Love. We started it first, and then Diddy got into it.
Okay.
And I saw a recent school newspaper from Howard back in the day. They re-released some of the classic Hilltop, our school newspaper, and Diddy took my flyer and did my show the next homecoming after I graduated.
Wow.
Because I was the first guy that took the step shows away from Howard. Howard would have the sororities and fraternities step, and they wouldn't pay them. So once I joined Alpha Phi Alpha in 06 to my brothers.
I knew you was going to say that.
Come on now.
I knew you were going to say that.
I sat down with the fraternities and sororities and said, I'll pay y'all. And I'm 19 years old. When I think about it now, like I'm 19 and I'm guaranteeing like $4,000 or $5,000 to pay everybody.
So you had this. This was here.
I get, yeah. And my mother's boyfriend in Bridgeport, Roy Jackson, rest in peace. He was my mother's boyfriend for 15 years, and we always stayed father-son close. So I consider him like that father figure. He had nightclubs, pool halls. They just had everything in Bridgeport on the south side. Bridgeport, like East End of Bridgeport. They had everything on lock. So I watched him carefully. He would come home on the weekends. He had the bar. He had like the bar, the barbershop, the variety store, the patio restaurant, then real estate upstairs. Wow. And I just watched him. And when I came home from undergrad, he even gave me office space.
Wow.
I rented office space for him for $75 a month.
Wow.
He charged me $75 a month.
Can't find that today.
Not at all.
Flashing back to Howard, we were doing those step shows. We asked the Greeks to step for us, and I'll never forget this. I've done hundreds of shows now, if not 1,000 with MJ. But with the step show, we took it to the Capitol Center in Northeast. So the Washington Capitals, they play in downtown D.C. now, right? And their name is different. But back then, they played at 3rd Street.
Okay.
A church bought the building. So we were able to sit 6,000 people there.
Wow.
So what I did is I said to the Greeks, if you step for us, we'll pay you. And then I went to guys with T-shirts, chicken wings, clothing, and said, I need all you guys to be vendors. This is before social media, before branding and all that. Just at 19, I was like, if we can line up this whole wall with vendors,
that is dope.
They'll pay for the show. And then every ticket is a profit. So we did that, and I think we had 6,000 or 7,000 people at the show.
Wow.
Paying something like $20, $30 a head to come.
Wow.
And I had a street team on the campus. So while I'm in class, my street team is running around selling tickets for me, reporting to me after class, like, okay, those 50 tickets you gave me, I just sold them all in the student center. And then I said, okay, did you check the dorms? How's our girl doing in dorms? And then we calling her. That back then we were, doing this or doing the phone on the wall. We had one cell phone, but it was that big one. My roommate, Sean McCrae, had like the big phone that I would use sometime. That was like 75 cents a minute or something ridiculous, or $2 a minute. But we would call the dorm and say, hey, how are ticket sales going over there? And the deal was either you had the tickets or you had the money.
Okay.
So if I gave you 50 tickets, you better come back with $1,000, or you better have those tickets in hand and say, hey, here's the ones I didn't sell.
Okay.
That was kind of how this worked. And we sold that show out. And from there, we were, one of the biggest promoters on campus. And then Diddy got in it. and it just kind of everybody started doing it. So we moved into plays. We left step shows and parties, and then moved into plays. And then Phyllis Hyman let us do her concert.
Wow!
I don't know if you old enough to know Phyllis Hyman.
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
She was a big time jazz R&B artist back in the day. Rest in peace. She was the one that told me to go to law school. I was on about my 30th or 40th production, and I was sitting with her at a bar, paying her $15,000 to do 2 shows for me. And she sat me at a bar in Georgetown, and she said, "What are you gonna do when you get like older woman, 42? I'm 20ish." She sits back with her cigar. So, "What are you gonna do when you graduate?" And I said, "I'm gonna go to law school. I want to fight for my people like Thurgood Marshall." Because back then all of us black lawyers wanted to be Thurgood Marshall. So she was like, "You ever think of entertainment law?" And I was like, "What is that?"
Exactly.
I had never heard entertainment law said before. I'm 20, 21 years old. She said, "It's the guys who do our contracts. We don't have black people doing our contracts."
Wow.
She said, "We have Jewish guys." In the industry at that time, 80s and 90s.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to law school at Howard, still doing shows. At that time, I was doing Our Young Black Men Are Dying, and nobody seems to care. And you hear gunshots, and then a mother crying.
Well, that's not funny, but I get what you're saying.
You know the commercial, right? You hear like, pow, pow, pow. Our young black men are dying, and nobody seems to care. And then brought to you by, and my company name was Stillwater Productions at the time. And I'm in class, and my law professor, Spencer Boyer, he called me in a room and said, "Yo, man, is this you?" And I said, "Yeah, that's me." He said, "Who's drafting your contracts?" And I said, "Well, I've been doing it since step shows and parties, undergrad, when I was 17, 18. Now I'm 22, 23. I'm still doing them." He was like, "You're doing them all wrong." And he sat me down my first year law school and started teaching me how to do entertainment law. So by the time I graduated, I was already years ahead because I had been working under him for 3 years. And I credit him. That was 95. Fast forward now to almost 2025, 30 years later. And we're like Billboard Lawyers of the Year. And, we win all those kind of awards now.
Okay, so we got to...
That's the whole arc.
So we got to go back to the first step show. Camera's cut out. We got to go back to the first step show.
I got it.
You got it?
Don't answer another question.
Perfect. Okay.
Am I talking too fast?
No, you're good.
You're good.
Yeah, you're great. Yeah.
You're making me think of stuff that I've forgotten, not really shared.
I'm loving
like
it.
the Diddy side. Yeah, he stole my flyer. I'm still mad about that. I just found out about it a year or two ago. I knew my flyers were unique because I used to put headlights on them, and when somebody photocopies,
got it. So the actual graphics of headlights on the
So when he copied it, it was darker, so you could see it was a cut and paste. Because he didn't back then. You didn't have sophisticated what they call it, pageantry now. Pasting stuff together, and we didn't have all that. So you had to go in Kinko's or Xerox or somewhere and like cut out my flyer, take those headlights and paste them.
I wish we could pull it up. Do you have it?
I used to have it in my email because I wanted to approach him about it.
Right, like
Brother Love, how is this love?
Right. You stole my flyer.
You stole my flyer. But they sold out, and I wasn't mad. They took the concept, they took the step show concept and did it the next homecoming.
So let's go there, James. Since we are there, let's go back to, we like to dig into what was the journey like at those earlier points, okay, 19, before you do this first show, how was it? Was life rough? Was it tough? School, was it full scholarship?
That's good questions. It was tougher than we like to admit. Like, we lived in P.T. Barnum projects. We lived there for a year. Then we moved right across the street from the projects, Bird Road, and we stayed on Bird Road at least till 10th grade. And I remember my sister and I had to share a room. And I'm quiet about it because, I never want my mom to feel like she didn't do her part, because she did what mothers do. She sacrificed.
Right.
But I remember my sister and I sharing a room up until about 8th or 9th grade. And I was like, she was on one wall, I was on one wall. 2 twin beds, And a TV in the middle, and those big stereos you had back then. Remember the big ones? It was like a big, heavy wood thing. I remember that in the middle of us. And I practiced every day in that apartment for years. And then when my mother's boyfriend came along, they got together and got us in a bigger apartment on the East End. But we were around shootings. We were around, which friend is going to jail, which friend is unfortunately getting pregnant. I saw all of that. Bridgeport, somebody said to me last night, I don't know how true it is, but Bridgeport used to be like number 3, number 4 murder capital of New England.
No
Bridgeport,
way.
Connecticut. Yeah, wow. Bridgeport is and young kids are still dying there.
Wow.
It's still heavily drugs bound. But for us, we knew it as the Park City, a.k.a. Bridgeport. We just had fun.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know you're in that when you're growing up
when you're
there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Until you raise your kids in a house, suburb somewhere, a nice neighborhood, and you go over to your old neighborhood and be like, wow, we was in some stuff.
Right.
And, you know, if you imagine your kids having to deal with that stuff.
No way.
But I was so focused. My mom kept me focused. My grandparents, I had 7 uncles. They all did construction work. One was a firefighter, 6 were in construction. So they always took the nephews and brought us into the construction window game, put windows in. So that, to me, that kept a lot of us out of trouble. Some of my cousins, they get in trouble. Some got arrested. You know, some obviously had to serve time. But for the most part, we were very fortunate as nephews that about 10 or 12 of us got to work in the family business.
Nice.
And so you see the 7 uncles and then 12 nephews. And when you drive through New York and you see those tall housing projects with the brown windows with the child baby guard on them, those are my uncles.
Wow.
They did it, have done it, and did it for 30, 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah, we were the Carr family. My mother's maiden name is Carr. So I had 7 uncles, Carr Windows, Carr Construction, William Carr Inc. And my Uncle Bill was probably the single most influential uncle in my life. He and my Uncle Joe.
Wow.
Because he taught me how to drive. My first concert, I remember I didn't know how to print tickets that couldn't be stolen. So we do this show in D.C., and after the show was over, we see a lot of people in the room, but the money ain't adding up. So my uncle from Bridgeport, you know, he comes in and he says, let me tell you what happened. The guy printed duplicate tickets.
Wow.
And he's going to show you tickets to say, hey, these didn't sell, but because they're duplicative or they can be duplicated, he might have made $5,000.
Wow.
You won't know. So from that show on, we started printing really like specialized tickets that couldn't be counterfeited.
Wow.
And we started making sure we handled the ticket count.
Wow.
We didn't trust you in the box office.
Yeah.
Because you print a ticket out of a regular, you know, printer and you could tell me anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come to that, money just corrupts people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we always felt in that first or second early show, we got ripped off a little bit, but it was a lesson learned.
It was a lesson learned.
Never happened again.
Exactly.
But to your question, yeah, Bridgeport was rough. I remember in 8th grade when Harold Lee shot Buster, a friend of mine got shot, and that kind of, that was like when I realized like people are getting murdered in our neighborhood. And then, you know, over the years, more and more people got shot, more and more people went to jail. Then there was this war between this family, and then the gangs popped up. And I just kept my nose to the grind and said, I got to get out of here. I got to get to Howard, get my mother a house, get her out of the neighborhood. You know, that was my drive was trying to set mom up, trying to get her set up and making sure my family had at least the opportunity, which you look at my sons and daughters now, they're doing their thing.
Amazing. So you always said, hey, or what age did you say, I'm going to college? I got it. This college is my way out, is my route out. Which college? Why am I choosing Howard? Or, you know, why not?
Howard back in the day it's still a big deal, but back in the day it was a big deal to get into Howard coming from Bridgeport. There was one other guy who had done it from my high school. So I remember the guidance counselors my sophomore, junior year when I decided I wanted to go. They were like, well, you got to meet so-and-so, so-and-so. He did it, but it's hard to get into Howard. So I went down, visited, had recommendation letters written by different people, got in. And I remember I was acting a fool my senior year. And the guidance counselor pulled me in a room and said, hey, man, you going to Howard. You realize that? And I was like, yeah, well, what that mean? He's like, well, you can't be like just tripping in classes, just being immature. You're 16, 17. I was 16 my junior year. So you just running your mouth. And I was the cat that because I grew up in PT, I could hang with those dudes.
Yeah, yeah.
And I could hang with the band geeks.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I was that guy that was kind of, I know we can say his name now, Will Smith, kind of like in the middle of both worlds. You know, like he could be over here, but then he can go over here and be with this.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of had that kind of childhood. It was not Carlton from Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
It was more of like, grew up over here, kind of tough knocks with mom, but at the same time, I would go ball with the dudes that, you know, were shooting people or taking people's chains or doing, you know, crazy stuff. And for some reason, they just thought I was funny. They just got a kick out of my personality, but they also respected that I was always trying to tell them, like, yo, there's a bigger picture here. Don't let these people play us, and we end up getting locked up or end up not getting what they have. Next to Bridgeport is Westport, New Canaan, and Greenwich, the wealthiest counties and cities in America. So I used to tell the brothers in Bridgeport, like, yo, we want what they, you know, we want to do what they doing. So we can't allow them to get us hemmed up with stealing marijuana or getting somebody pregnant or getting locked up. Like, you can't let that happen. You're too smart for that. And a lot of those brothers I'm still cool with today. They don't serve 20 years. They don't serve 10 years, 5 years. But we still relate. When I go through Bridgeport, I don't have any fear. I can go over to the projects. I can go to Ave. I don't have any fear because I grew up with all these dudes. And they always respected you.
Yeah.
There was a respect for like, hey, man, you trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see your grandparents taking you to church on Sunday, and back then it wasn't cool to go to church. Now everybody goes to church. Now you can see a dude in the club dancing to 3 a.m. in the club, trying to take her down with him. But then 9, 10 a.m. he's over at Elizabeth Baptist, singing in the choir. But back in the day, it was like, wow, your family goes to church. It was just different if you told your boys, like, yo, I got to be in church.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that grandma and granddad kept us there. Because most of us cousins that were there on Sunday are doing okay now. And we have a certain foundation to us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's right.
But no, it was tough. It was tough. I ain't going to front. It was tough. And I drive through the old neighborhood all the time. We give out scholarships. We go back, speak at high schools, try to do everything to hopefully inspire somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so you're 19. You make $100,000. Your first show or first few shows, you're learning the ropes. You got this. You understand it. At what point do you say, "Hey, I'm at Howard. I want to be a sports and entertainment attorney"?
Yeah, when I started realizing the people I admired on TV were sportscasters, guys on ESPN, ABC, Howard Cosell. Growing up as a kid watching Howard Cosell and Muhammad Ali, I used to always just think that was fascinating. And me and my uncle, June, rest in peace, died last year, my oldest uncle of 7, we would do like a little mock thing, thank you, at the family cookouts where he would be a challenger and I would be Cosell and Ali. And I would interview him, be like, this is Howard Cosell. I'm sitting here with Junior Rockhead Carr. And then I would start talking to Junior, you think you can beat Ali? And he would be, doing all this to me, like, just the uncle. And then I would be Ali over here, oh, you so ugly, you so bad, you can never beat me, you can never be this, And then we would go. And the whole family would just chuckle. And I thought of that when June died last year. I remembered he was the uncle that in a secret kind of way was encouraging me like, you got this.
Wow.
Follow your dream.
Wow.
Because we did that skit almost at every cookout. Summer after summer, he would find me, we sit at a table and we would just go right there. And I'd be, this is Howard Cosell. Because back in the day, Howard was the man. But he was the man that gave Ali a platform when the white people wouldn't. Howard Cosell let Muhammad Ali be Muhammad Ali. When everybody
Shout
else
out
wanted
Howard
to call
Cosell.
him. Everybody else wanted to call him Cassius Clay.
Right.
So for me, Ali was a big influence, and then watching Howard Cosell do his job. So when I went to Howard, I was broadcast journalism. But I remember my journalism professor, Dr. Lee Thornton, she trained Gus Johnson, who's on CBS Now Sports, Stan Verrett, who's on ESPN, Michelle Miller, who's on CBS Morning News with Gayle King, Millette Pendleton, who's on, I think, ABC or NBC, Kelly Lynn Shoemate, who's in DC. I mean, I could just name, like, she's the GOAT of training. And when she was training me, I'm doing all these shows, I'm doing all these parties, I'm coming to her class of flowers, she would say, you're the businessman in the group. You're going to own the station.
Wow.
She said, you're never going to be on air.
She saw it.
She used to say, like, he's the businessman here. So I used her training to help me as a legal analyst and started doing CNN and other networks. Michelle brought me on. Michelle Miller, who's on CBS Now.
Wow.
When she got put on nationally, she started putting others on.
That's dope.
And that's what, it's supposed to be about if you went to Howard. You're supposed to help others get in the room.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or any HBCU, really. We just are taught, put others on. But it was, to your question, it was Uncle June and others that really helped me see. I loved news, so I did the print journalism thing for a while. And then went back to law school because I just had this passion for entertainment law. And I figured I could always come back to broadcasting or sports journalist. So I write a lot of articles.
So at this point, you're meeting or have relationships with musicians.
Yes.
To also be thinking, hey, law, entertainment law, paperwork, contracts. These are good people over here.
Sure.
No one's fighting for them. At what point do you say, okay, this is what I'm doing?
When I got to law school, in addition to Spencer Boyer, I got an internship. And it was crazy how I got the internship. I was at a panel, and a lady named Amy Golson was sitting in the back of the room. I didn't know she was best friends with Sylvia Rome,
Wow.
Elektra Records, Warner Records.
Shout out
all that.
Sylvia.
Shout out to Sylvia. And Amy was in the back of the room, And Skip Finley was on the panel, who was the president of Donnie Simpson's radio station, Kiss FM in D.C. So Skip is doing all this talking, and I say to Skip, Mr. Finley, I'm a second-year law student. Would you mind giving me a copy of Donnie's contract? And the whole room got quiet. I said, you can white out his name, the numbers. I like to read contracts now so that when I need them later, I know what should be in a broadcast contract.
And now, James, had you seen a contract yet?
I don't think so.
So you were so like, hey, just white out his name.
Yeah.
I want to thumb through this.
Just want to thumb through and read it.
Yeah.
So what happened is he said he was on the spot in front of a whole room. So he kind of couldn't say no.
Right.
So he was like, okay, young man, come by the station. Come by Kiss FM. So I drove up, I think, Wisconsin Avenue, somewhere towards D.C. where Kiss FM is. The day I walked in, Amy was walking in. And she tapped me. She said, you remember me? And I said, you're the lady from the classroom at Howard where Skip was speaking? She said, yeah. She said, that was a very good question. And I'm glad to see you following up with him. She said, I might have an assignment for you.
Wow.
And she gave me one assignment to do. It was a government contract question. I went back to the law school. He gave me the contract. She gave me the assignment, and I went back to law school, found a third-year law student, because I'm only like a first or second year. And I asked the third year, Ian Walker, I said, Ian, no relation, I need your help. How do you research government contracts and stuff? I've never taken that class. So he helped me do it. I turned the memo into her. She hires me, becomes my mentor. And when I tell you Amy Golson is like, it's like having the flyest entertainment law mentor. She's pulling up to my law school in a convertible Jaguar.
What year is this, James?
I'm in first or second year law school, probably 23, 24 years old. And she's pulling up. She's in her 40s. She's got beautiful kids, beautiful husband. And she's pulling up to take me to lunch. And all my classmates are like, who is getting picked up in a Jaguar for lunch? And she's taking me to lunch. But bigger than that, she was showing me this is the life. This is how you navigate it. This is where you're going to be one day. Kids, wife, the whole nine. And you're going to have to know how to juggle it.
Now, what did it mean to you? She's picking you up, Hartford, Connecticut. You're
I'm blown away. She had an office in her home, and probably someplace she used downtown DC, but her main office was her home. So I'm coming to $1 million home at 20-some years old, multi-million probably, and her husband's big-time doctor, and the two young daughters, the nanny, the help, the secretary. Like, I saw Team Amy, and I never forget this. And Pauletta, forgive me for sharing this, but I haven't shared it before if you watch this. So I'm in her office, and Pauletta Washington calls. So for your viewers, Denzel's wife. And they had some questions about the vineyard. I guess they were looking at the vineyard. This is when Denzel had just done Glory.
Wow.
Just to give y'all context.
Yes.
He isn't Denzel.
Yes.
He's, that brother's on his way up.
Yeah.
So Pauletta calls the office, and I'm answering phones for Amy and doing a little this. Amy's in the back room getting ready for an event. We were going to something either at the White House or City Hall. She would take me to stuff like that. I got to go to big Black Caucus events because she was counsel for the Black Caucus. So Pauletta's asking me about vineyard neighborhoods, what it's like. So then I go in Amy's room. I said, some lady's on the phone, Pauletta. And she's like,
some lady.
Yes, that's Denzel's wife. Tell her we have a home in Oak Bluffs. We have a home over here. We have, she's like giving me, and this is just her regular world.
Wow.
But that kind of, for me, was like, look where God has brought me.
Yeah.
From Bridgeport. Tough streets of Bridgeport. Working for a very respected, very polished, very together sister in her home with a set of keys to the house.
Wow.
Because I would go work in the office all the time while she was traveling. She's on the vineyard. She's still going here doing that. And it just, I didn't realize this, what was caught, not taught. That's
Can you repeat that one more time, James?
From working with Amy later in life, I realized it was what was caught and not taught. That I didn't realize that one day I would have multiple homes, children's in law school, children practicing law, children trying to get drafted, all that stuff, baseball, and that I would have to juggle this kind of life where you have multiple things and you got business running and you're trying to hold your family down, hold your parents down, everything. I didn't realize that was coming my way. I just wanted to do entertainment law. I didn't know that I would one day be living in $1 million homes. I think we brought our first $1 million home at 30 or 31, and then we brought a couple of them. So, and I haven't shared this before for some reason. I don't know why.
Exclusive.
What'd you say?
Exclusive on the record.
No, I've never really shared it on interviews because I've always felt, you don't want to like brag about it. But
not
we
bragging.
did it at 30. My
Right.
ex-wife and I, we were buying homes in Connecticut like water. Every 6 months, we were buying properties. We had 50 rentals, 2 office buildings, and $2 million homes, and a halfway house by the time we were 35.
Say that.
But that was from Amy. That was from
This
Amy.
needs to be said.
Yeah, that was
That's
from Amy.
Needs to be
inspiration.
said.
That
That
Yes.
was Amy. We had about
Yeah.
close to 8 to 10 million in real estate. And guess who was my main tenant?
Who?
Ooh.
I came in the door. I said it before.
Stop
I never
playing.
let the microphone fight me no more. It's fighting me, nothing in the rhymes. That was my main tenant. Rakim. Rakim was my main tenant.
That's
The God MC
crazy.
Rakim.
He saw me recently in New York and just came and gave me a hug because he was at a tough patch in life, as was I, and we just looked out for each other.
Wow.
We made the deal work.
Legendary.
He was in a $2 million home in Stanford that I owned 20 years ago. And his career was, back then he was trying to figure some things out and he was in between locations. Wasn't struggling, but just, it was a time. And I did a deal for him and said, you just stay there as long as you need to.
Wow.
And he never forgot that. And he signed paper with me. I probably got paperwork with him where, I could go back and say, hey, man, you owe me the that's, the man above will take care of us for taking care of people.
Yes.
Wow.
But he lived in our Stanford home on Conan Andreas Drive. And we had bought another $1 million home in Monroe, Connecticut. So at one point I was carrying both of them. And then the economy collapsed in 2008. The real estate burst. So we were in this like, do we force sell it? Do we do this? Do we do that? And Rakim and I sat down with a guy named Bert Padell, who is the CPA to the stars. And I remember when Bert called me about Rakim renting it. Bert and I were cool friends. So Bert called me, James, I got this guy, Mr. Griffin. And I'm thinking, okay, he's a big time rapper, James. I said, Griffin. And I'm trying to Run DMC. I'm trying to think who's Griffin. And he said, I think he goes by Eric B. and Rakim or something. And then I went and looked it up, called in Deborah Nixon, who was my right hand then, and she did the lease. Because we had rentals all over Connecticut.
Wow.
We had 50 rentals. But this was kind of our marquee house, luxury house.
Right.
So, your stereotype, you hear a rap artist wants to rent your house. We all go a certain place.
Right.
But I was like, Bert was like, we'll pay extra up front. We'll pay, this many months in advance. I handle his business. I'll make sure you get paid. So we did the deal, and it turned out to be a wonderful thing. He was my tenant for about 2 years.
Wow.
And then like I said, I lived in Monroe, and then ultimately came here to Atlanta right after that and sold all of it. Sold all the apartments, the halfway house, everything, cleaned out in Connecticut. And I thank God that in the real estate bust, 10 million in real estate fell to 5 million. But we never, there's nothing on my credit. There's we handled business and got everything sold, signed it, whatever we had to do. And now we're down here and we're kind of coming right back there again.
Yeah. That's
Now
amazing.
we have properties
Amazing.
all over the East Coast. So it's a story of coming down and how you fight back.
Yes. Yes.
And now my boys are getting it. I think they have, the two of them together have 3 properties, Connecticut, Brooklyn, and D.C.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, wow. 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 Wow.
So
I'm excited.
I am too. And like we said, people need to hear this and get inspired because a lot of people don't see it. So like you said, it's like not taught, it's caught, like how you saw and how you were around it, and people aren't exposed to it, so they don't know that these things are possible. So
that's funny.
I love that you have your philanthropy work too, like in helping people. So is it more so for the Broadway, or are you helping people? I know you have your internships for the lawyers too as well. So in your halfway house, are you still active with that?
I'm not active with the halfway house. It was in Hartford, Connecticut.
Okay, so
when
I just
moved
wanted to
here,
know if
so
it-
what they're doing now is finding me a house here
Okay.
to be active here in Georgia with it.
That's
so
awesome.
I still give money and still support halfway houses and prison ministry.
Right.
But and to your point, I went to Yale for Yale Divinity for Masters. So
Oh, wow.
I have a law degree from Howard. So a part of me going to Yale was to train on working with nonprofits and halfway houses and prison kind of outreach, like working with black men, because so many were getting locked up in Bridgeport that I felt like I just could reach them. I can relate, like how you and I relate. I feel like I have a connection with black men where they see, okay, here's a brother who's made the millions, did all that stuff. But it's from our neighborhood
Right.
and still connects
Yeah.
with us.
Yeah.
And that's very important when we see certain people getting in trouble in our industry and losing everything and kind of getting in this whole Me Too thing.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times they have lost that connection. If you stay connected there and connected there,
Yeah.
you don't end up over here.
Yeah.
You just don't.
Yeah.
Because the brother's going to keep it real with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you go home, they're going to pull your coattail and say, yo, man, you from our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like, what's up? We ain't seen you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's going to keep it real above. Like if you out here fighting women or neglecting your children or running through women, that part is going to sit you down, but the man above. So I credit a lot of the people from home, ministers, the grandparents, all those people that just keep you grounded. The hardest part of this and having millions and doing $1 million deals and these plays, when we do a play, it's like $20 million to raise for one of these plays. It's not cheap. And what keeps you humble is that part there, that foundation, because it reminds you what she's alluding to, that this is about inspiring, empowering, and just blessing other people. It ain't really about you if you're really honest.
Yeah.
Right.
It's really about other people.
Yeah.
I said something to a sister earlier today. I said, I want to be around God-fearing, God-giving, and God-loving people.
Yeah.
I said, those are the kind of people I
Facts.
want to be by. They got to be God-fearing, which means humility
Yeah.
and humble. God-loving mean they're not doing hate. They're not hating on you for your success.
Yeah.
They're not bringing you hate about
Not
other
pocket
people.
watching.
Not pocket watching. And then God-giving.
Yeah.
They're looking at what can we give back?
Yeah.
How can we give scholarships? I was on a text this morning. Every year we try to get 3 to 5 students into Howard. And we're at 37 now.
Amazing.
Wow.
We did that because
Amazing.
when we bundled my son to get in 10 years ago, my older son, we had him with a couple other kids and some were right on that line, but they all got in. All 3 got in.
Wow.
1 transferred, 2 graduated. Now 2 are getting advanced degrees. Son's got his law degree, getting ready to go to Wharton. So I said to Howard then, because you got my kids, my crew in,
Okay.
it's my job now to get other parents' kids in.
Yep.
That's the payback.
Yep.
It isn't just thank you for hooking my child up.
Yeah.
Right.
So every year I work with the admissions department, make sure at a bare minimum 3 to 5 kids. And they find me. They'll come on Facebook. Their parents will see me posting about my son or my daughter who went there. And they'll say, hey, my kid just applied for the law school. Can you help us? Or my son is applying to admission or he needs a room. And we're still plugged in to the Howard Network. So we just kind of reach out. I was at their freshman student day 2 weeks ago with a young lady I got in from Florida. Her mother went to high school with me.
Wow.
And we helped her daughter get in. Shout out Caitlin. And her mother was like, yo, we in D.C. We up at Howard today. And I happened to be at our D.C. home. So I went up to Howard and introduced them to more people on the campus. Said, that person gets your housing done. That person gets your financial aid done. That person can get your classes done. That person can get you into this school over here if you want to be in a fine arts school as well. This is the dean of, I was trying to plug them in. So, because at these HBCUs, you got to be plugged in.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just get in. Once you get in, you got to plug in to survive there. Or it's a big party.
Yeah, that's true.
And second semester, it's like, what happened to Arturo?
Yeah.
Girl, he had
He
the
under
best.
the table.
He had the best homecoming. He really enjoyed homecoming. He was homecoming. He's the king of homecoming.
He went home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you see him, you call him in the spring, yo, man, what happened? I'm going to go to Glassboro Tech this semester. I'm staying, Chattanooga Tech. I'm going to Chattanooga Tech this semester.
I'd have been like, hey,
Wow.
James, so just keep my number.
Right. See if you can plug me in.
But I hope I answered your question.
Yes,
the
for
goal
sure.
is about trying to make sure we're putting back.
And paying it forward always. So my question is, how do you juggle it all? Like, how are you able to do all of this?
Well, the first thing, you stay calm. You trust God. You pray a lot. I start my mornings with Joyce Myers or TD
me
Jakes.
too. I love
You like
that.
Joyce Myers?
Yes,
Yeah,
I love both of them.
Joyce old, corny, some people
Yep.
say corny white lady.
But she
just
gets to the
keeps it
point.
plain.
Yeah.
I'll be laying in bed watching her, and I'm like, God, I got to do these contracts today. I got
Uh-huh.
an interview. I got to go gym. I ain't do gym. And then she'll go, if you think you're going to lay on your bed all morning and do nothing, and God's done bless you to make it to Friday,
Yep.
you got another thing going. And then you just kind of like,
Yep.
she in my lane.
Yes.
And you get up and she starts telling her story, what she's been through and some of the child abuse she took. And you look at her like, well, if she can do this in front of 50,000 people based on what she's been through, who am I? I got through all of our companies. And I have a small piece in a lot of these companies, but we probably got 1,000 people working all over the globe.
Wow.
So if she can do 50,000 and I can be a small player on this little thing, there's no excuses.
Yeah.
You hire good people, you vet people, hire fast, what they say, hire slow, fire fast.
Yes.
Yeah, you do that.
Yes.
Our museum team is headed by Julie Boardman and Diane Nicoletti, and I'm very proud to be a co-owner in the museum because of the work they're doing, but I just stay hands off. I'll come to them with ideals. I would love to have like this crew come to the museum and do a panel.
Would love to.
In New York. And
Yes.
Julie's always open to those kind of ideals. But on the day-to-day stuff, you let people do their job.
Yeah.
You let people do that. MJ, we got a team that does the casting. We're getting ready to open up Germany. MJ the Musical, for
Yes.
those not familiar.
Yes.
We got a team getting ready to do Australia, New Zealand, and there's nothing for me to do. You know, I'm an investor.
Right.
And my producer partners are Stephen Bird and Aaliyah Jones. And I kind of allow them to, you know, be the day-to-day. And then on the legal side, I outsource and partner with about 20 to 25 lawyers.
Wow.
So because we get about 30 new clients a week, and there's just no way I could do all that work. So I have to manage the relationship with attorneys.
Yeah.
So if Arturo calls me today and say, hey, I need my wills and trusts done, I got a team of lawyers that do that work.
Right.
I know how to do it all,
Right.
but I can't obviously get to him and 20 other clients.
Right.
So I pull in different lawyers and say, hey, we're going to partner on Arturo. And I'm going to see everything. I'm going to make sure I see the documents before they go out the door over the email. But the goal at this stage of my career is to make sure I'm managing the situations right and making sure the work reflects my name, my brand, and the professionalism that we want him to leave with.
Yes.
You know, we say all the time that we probably got a 99% retention rate.
Wow.
So if 100 clients hire us, maybe one or two might say, you know, I don't want to go with y'all no more. That's fine. We pride ourselves and we're admitted in 4 states and we don't have any suspensions or disbarments. Rudy Giuliani just got disbarred by the Trump thing.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, wow.
so
Yep.
you know, I don't want, none of us are dealing with that. And basically just giving it to God and knowing when you're overwhelmed
Yeah.
and not being afraid. Sometimes with black men, when I had my halfway house, I discovered that black men won't scream for help. And you got to know when you need help. And it's okay to not be okay, as they say.
Yes.
It's okay to say, hey, I'm overwhelmed today. I can't take your file on Arturo,
Yeah.
but I know so-and-so.
Yeah.
Or I'm overwhelmed today. I can't handle this divorce. I did a high-profile divorce last Friday. And when it came in, I knew I was in the middle of announcing MJ in Hell's Kitchen and Cabaret, all in the same window. MJ opened in London, I think early April. Then Hell's Kitchen opened second or third week of April. And then Cabaret opened that same weekend.
Wow.
These are the
Amazing.
top. These are
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
These are 3 of the top 5 plays out.
Yeah.
So I knew I was overwhelmed. So I brought in another family lawyer and said, will you help me with this divorce
Okay.
that I'm doing for a very well-known local R&B singer? So that's what you have to do. You have to know when you're at your here.
Yeah.
And a lot of attorneys make the mistake of, well, Arturo going to pay me $5,000. Let me take that on.
Yeah.
And they don't ask the question, can I deliver? And I always ask, can I deliver? Because I don't want him to be mad at me.
Exactly.
Because we didn't deliver, he done spent this money.
And you know they're going to call.
And I should talk a lot on the litigation side. This is important to me to share that one of our biggest moments in the career was suing Sony. We've sued Sony a few times and we've won all of them.
Wow.
And we sued them
I
for
want to
black-
get to that
black
also.
artists.
Yeah.
I want
I
to
saw
really make
something
sure
on that.
that black artists know that there is a voice out there for them.
Yes.
If they're being ripped off by a black label or a white label.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Rip off is kind of colorblind.
Yeah.
For our black artists. So part of my mission, to your point, is making sure black artists, producers, songwriters, business owners, making sure they're protected with the best legal service. And that isn't about coming with $300,000 down or coming, you know, sometimes it's just we believe in you.
Yeah.
Like Take 6 came in, I believed in them. I grew up loving Take 6.
Yeah.
They had a song on the Bryson Tiller, her.
Yeah.
Could've been-
That was one of our questions.
Yes.
Yes.
So-
So how did that even happen and they become a client and how did that end up panning out for you guys?
It panned out very well.
It was a copyright lawsuit.
It was a
right?
copyright lawsuit. So rewind before that one, we had represented a guy named Andre Sims
Right.
who wrote
Yeah.
the music to Focus.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, the song by
Yeah.
her.
Yep.
And a DJ producer.
Now, where is he from? Is
Jersey.
He Jersey.
He's
Okay.
a Jersey.
I want to jump into one of your notable cases, many of them, right? I'll say one of the highest notable because I'm like super fan of 112.
Yes.
So, I mean, doing the research and I mean Googling everything, it was just like, dude, I mean, how did you, get through that? And you're dealing with Slim from 112, Deron Jones. I mean,
Q and Mike.
yeah, Q and Mike. I mean, I'm reading it. I'm like, I don't know how.
Well, that's a very unfortunate situation. In an ideal world, we all like things to work out, and we like to see the original New Edition back together as they are, the original Shy or Jodeci or anybody, And in that situation, it was unfortunate that certain members of the group decided to go after Slim's manager, a dear friend of mine named Greg Browning, who I call G. And when they went after G, one of the allegations was the suggestion that he was doing some type of mismanagement of the commissions or the bookings because he was booking for the group. And he wasn't. G had everything typed out, spelled out, laid out. Clearly the numbers added up. So they decided to sue him. And that was most unfortunate. The lawyer that gave Q that advice, I really hope Q rethinks that, or hope he has now. It's been years. But that started the whole spiral. Our guy, we registered the trademark. So our guy, Slim, owns the trademark.
Okay.
So if you're in a group and you own the trademark to...
It's your group.
It's your group.
Yeah.
Wow.
I always tell this story in the book that I wrote. I always tell the story how Berry Gordy owned the Jackson 5 name.
Wow.
So when the Jacksons left, they had to become the Jacksons because Berry owns the Jackson 5.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, on the
So
record.
That's why they're the Jacksons, because
Wow.
Berry was smart enough. The same thing with the Supremes.
Wow.
Berry and Motown own the Supremes. They own the Temptations, and I love Berry Gordy. I love his family. I know them very well. But business is business. So Slim owns the trademark to 112. The group breaks up after this guy decides to sue the manager.
Okay.
I think it was Q or Ron, I don't remember which one. And the group breaks up, but he owns the trademark. So
Yeah.
he can technically decide who he wants to be in the group.
Yeah.
Because he owns the trademark. Just like Berry Gordy could have formed another Jackson 5 if he wanted. There's nothing the Jacksons could really do. So Q owns it. We go into federal court. We have to stop. I mean, Slim owns it. We have to go into federal court to stop Q and others from using it.
Wow.
Because it's Slim's trademark. He
Wow.
owns the trademark, and he will own it for life. So now they have, I think, 2 additional members who perform with Slim.
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
Mike,
Yeah.
and they're doing fabulous. I'm so proud of them guys, and a part of me hurts that the group is not the group that we all knew growing up.
Yeah.
But you know, if you come after me and Carmen's my girl and she's managing me,
Yeah.
and you come after me and sue her.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, what
Yeah.
are you thinking?
What do we look
That's
like?
just
Yeah.
a bad PR move or a bad political move.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's no way we're going to be the same after that.
Yeah.
Right.
If I'm telling you, look, she's not robbing us, the manager's not taking from us, and you decide to go after my guy,
Wow.
that just doesn't add up. And I know the PR of it or the stories that have rolled out haven't explained it, but the crux of the story is these 2 members sued this man over here. This man over here is the manager, best friend to Slim. You basically coming after me if you coming after my boy.
Right.
And that just broke the whole group up. So we took it to federal. A local lawyer helped us with it and did some great work. And the case, we won. And from that, then Take 6 hired us. No, Andre Sims hired us to do the focus case. Every year, I probably get 2 or 3 very high-profile litigation, copyright matters, and a lot of high-profile family law matters. I've done divorces for some of the most highest-profile people, but I don't advertise that because I'm a proponent of hopefully marriages staying together. And people working it out, so I don't like to market. Hey, let me help you with your divorce, or let me help you with your breakup. I know some people do it, and I don't judge them because they do it well. But I do it usually when people call me and say, "Will you really help? Can you really help me here, please? Because I'm struggling." And I come in from a negotiator standpoint. So I've done now 10 divorces where I've represented both sides.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Husband and a
That's
wife.
Okay.
crazy.
Because what I show them is, Arturo, if you breaking up with Mary and you go hire Reggie Green, Reg is going to want 10,000.
Yeah.
If you hire James Walker, your wife, he's going to want 10,000.
Yeah.
If I represent both of you and you sign a waiver letter and you tell me what you want in the settlement agreement, she tells me what she wants in the settlement agreement, y'all have agreed, you're getting the car, she getting the house.
Yeah.
The money's going to be this much a month for the 2 kids.
No conflict of interest.
There's no conflict of interest.
Yeah.
And what are we fighting in court for?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And some of the lawyers will just take your money and let this drag out, knowing both of you can't even afford $30,000, $40,000 each
Yeah.
in legal fees.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
I've had so many couples that I'll sit down with them that day and tell them $5,000, $3,000, this is done in 30 days uncontested.
Wow.
Oh, I'm going to go hire, I'm going to talk to a lawyer. And then 6 months later, they come back to me and they say, James, I've spent $38,000.
Oh,
And Arturo has spent 47.
Yeah.
And they know because each is trying to get each to pay their legal fees.
Right. Exactly.
And I'm like, but I told you 3,000 back in January. I know we should have listened to you, but my girlfriend told me about her lawyer, so I thought her lawyer could get it done.
No.
I come at this from if we can't get counseling and work it out, can we just all sit at the table and work it out in an amicable way?
So now, how do you? Okay, so you pivot from marital divorce
to copyright.
And
corporate.
I mean, this is like a very high profile case here. You know, with Andre Sims, you got DJ Camper that's involved. You got her. Is Jeff Robertson involved at this point? Shout out Jeff.
That's the casualty of that case, is that Jeff and I were friends.
Wow.
And I called Jeff in May of 2021 and said, Jeff, we got a problem with the Focus song.
Yeah.
And Jeff kind of didn't respond in a friendly way.
Yeah.
Oh.
He kind of, in so many words, said, bring it.
Yeah.
I'm Jeff. I got money.
Yeah.
And I said, well, Jeff, we got money too.
Yeah.
That's not the answer here.
Yeah.
But he told me his whole story and growing up in Harlem, and he's a tough guy, and people go into all of that. And I said, we have been friends for over 10, 15 years. Jeff's groups, one of his gospel artists, had performed at one of our Christmas parties.
Wow.
Like, I knew MBK, his company.
Wow.
My brother's keeper. I knew
Absolutely.
him. I knew Conrad. I knew all of them.
Conrad,
His sister Clarissa. They all my people. So I thought I could call Jeff and say, hey, man, this is what the record is made. Give Andre this much. Give him some ownership on the song. And it's a wrap. This dude basically gave me the middle finger.
Wow.
And told me, you're going to sue us? Sue us.
Yeah.
I got more lawyers than y'all. I got more money than y'all. So we sued.
Yeah.
And we deposed everybody.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we won.
Wow.
We won.
So
Why
now-
didn't he just want to do it? Like,
Well, most people in his power, in his level of power in this industry, even Diddy at a certain point, they don't usually get people challenging them.
right.
And they definitely don't get an Andre Sims, who's a basic single dad in New Jersey, probably doesn't make millions of dollars like them.
Right.
So they never think this guy can fight this guy over here with all these millions.
Right.
They just never think that's because there's a certain level of false invincibility that you have.
Exactly.
And you really believe like nobody can touch me. And it's what we prey upon, PREY, because we know they don't see what we see. They don't know the case law. They don't know copyright law.
That's the
Wow.
They don't know the courtroom. They don't know how these judges are going to look at all this. We know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for a while. I shouted out Amy Ghost, and I should shout out Johnny Cochran, my other mentor.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Shout out Johnny Cochran.
We worked with these two
Legendary.
legends, so they've taught us how to win cases.
Wow.
Amy gave me detail. Johnny gave me the courtroom, gave me the media side. I used to do court TV with him as a third-year attorney.
Really?
Yeah, so you Google it, it's out there.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look that one
we
up.
did court TV together for a whole year, and I never forget. I walk, he'd be like, "What's up, young blood? How you doing, young blood?" He just thought us young guys were just everything because we were so young and ambitious. There was a whole group of us from Howard that looked up to him, as did everybody. So when he saw you around New York, he would just take you under his wing, give you a hug, invite you out to the Hamptons, invite you to parties with him because he liked mentoring. He liked pouring back.
That's so
And remember, Johnny became a celebrity because of OJ.
Yeah.
So this whole celebrity space was kind of new to him when the OJ thing and CNN, and some of us were in entertainment law already. So he was asking me, funny story, I referred Ray Allen to Johnny Cochran.
Wow.
When Ray's mother had an issue with her dog and her white neighbors trying to like penalize her with the city and filing all kind of stuff in the city of, it wasn't Hartford, it was one of the suburbs, I think Glastonbury or Simsbury. Johnny came to Connecticut and fought that case for her
Wow.
because he wanted to build his sports practice side.
Okay.
So he started getting to know players like Ray Allen and others. I was telling Ray's wife about this recently. Like, that's how Johnny ended up there. Because a lot of people don't know that story.
Wow.
That Johnny ended up in the whole sports thing because we were friends at the time. And I have no interest in doing sports agency work. And he wanted to do that kind of work. So I was just plugging him into players that I knew from Connecticut.
Mr. Walker, come on. Let's jump into some hot topics.
Okay.
As we know, you attended Howard University. And there are a lot of notable and accomplished people who had attended Howard, like Sean Diddy Combs, So with that
Puff.
being said, he has been accused of sexual assault in now 12 lawsuits
Wow.
and has been the subject of 2 home raids executed by Homeland Security as part of what authorities refer to as an ongoing investigation.
Yeah.
Now, in March 2024, CNN published video surveillance footage of Combs assaulting Cassie Ventura which corroborated one of the claims of abuse Victoria made in November 2023 in the lawsuit against Combs. Now, since there has been so many conspiracy theories in the media about what's going on or what's going to happen next and what Combs will have to be accused of, including the death of an ex-girlfriend, Kim Porter, and industry executive Shakir Stewart, his legal counsel has reportedly dropped him.
Yeah.
So
somebody asked me if I would take it on.
that's my next question. What are your thoughts and what advice would you give him right now?
Well, I wouldn't take it on, but my advice to Diddy right now would be cut a deal because an indictment is clearly coming. If they've raided your houses like this and videos are dropping anonymously like this to CNN, CNN's a credible news source. So
Right.
that video probably came from somebody on the inside. My gamble is that I believe they dropped the video to bring out other witnesses.
That's what I think.
That was very strategic, whoever
Yeah.
dropped it, whether it was the feds, the people who raided, the police, we don't know. But somebody knew exactly what they were doing
Yeah.
to put that video. And I don't think Cassie's people would do that. She got her money.
Right.
And she's trying to put this behind her. So I think someone did that to bring attention to it, have other victims come forward. The way it works with a grand jury, they'll bring these people in, interview them, get to a judge, sign something, they pick up Diddy and charge him. He's indicted. I think that's what's coming. I think he knows that's coming. And I think he's got to figure out who to hire. Don't go out here and just hire some high-profile guy who's going to charge you $4 or $5 million. Hire somebody who can really get the deal done and who's not going to antagonize the situation more. Because I really believe sometimes when those guys are hired, the government gets more turned off. You know, you see these guys get stopped for drinking or a brawl or a fight, and they go spend $2 million, $3 million on the local big name. And sometimes that turns off the other side.
Now, do you think he's going to jail, or do you think do we see that? Not, and it's not that. Or how do I phrase this? Would I have 3 daughters? If this happened to one of my daughters, this guy's underneath the jail cell.
Right.
So he's underneath the jail cell to me, in what I saw. I think what we all saw, of course.
Sure.
But does this actually happen? Like, because Puff is still a billionaire.
Oh, I think he can definitely go to jail. I think R. Kelly, Weinstein, Bill Cosby, all these people went to jail. I think it's no pun intended, but the movement is called Time's Up for a reason.
Oof.
My good friend Nina Shaw out in L.A., one of the best entertainment lawyers in the game, who I've shared clients with, she and a group of people put together this Time's Up movement, the Me Too movement that spun off of that, all of that. They're not playing with you.
Yeah.
If you're out here abusing women, as it clearly seems, you got 12 cases.
Yeah.
If it was 2, we go, okay, these might be disgruntled women. 3, okay. But you got 12 people suing you?
With the video.
With videos, and we got the video of Cassie now, too.
Yeah.
Rod Jones's stuff,
Yeah.
lawsuit. I think jail is on the table. I think it's on the desk here.
Wow.
I think jail is
How
in
do-
the conversation.
How do you process that, James? Because this is someone you knew in college.
I'm
Of
disappointed.
course, it's not the Diddy, the Puff now, but where do you think he lost himself? I mean, was it the Clive Davis deal? He gets the $40 million allegedly for Clive to do the deal there early on. Is that the piece that takes him over, or what is
Well,
it?
I don't think it's one particular piece. I think when you've had a run from college like he had to now, from interning with Andre Harrell to Bad Boy to Justin's to Sean John to Ciroc to Revolt to the magazine to all of this stuff, when you've had this kind of run and nobody in your inner circle is an Arturo or James Walker who's going to tell you, yo, man, what are
the
you doing,
fuck?
man? I just saw you hit Rashida. Well, you wouldn't let nobody hit you. But I just saw you hit your girl
Right.
outside. Have you lost your freaking mind?
Right.
He doesn't have those people, and I know many of those people.
Yeah.
So I'm just as disappointed in them as I am in him. Because there are people who ate off him. There are people who co-produced with him. Did all this stuff with him. And I was never in the circle. I was in the circle, but not in the circle.
Yeah.
Right.
At the parties, at the Grammys, at all that stuff, at his 30th, but I was never in the circle, meaning where I had his ear because I was considered a gospel head. I'm over here promoting shows with Kirk Franklin.
Hey.
I'm over here promoting shows
I'll
with
take it.
Hammond and Hezekiah Walker, the guys that I'm real tight with.
Yeah.
Do either promoting them or representing them.
Yeah.
I'm doing those shows. So I was always just like, oh, you're a good brother. I got that
Brother
kind
love.
of brother love
Yeah.
from them, but I didn't get like, hey, man, we having a party upstairs in the suite at the Four Seasons. We're
Exactly.
gonna have a little stuff. We're gonna have a little this, little that.
Right.
Girls coming. I was married at the time, so they were like, he not about that life.
Yeah.
So they never brought that my way. Even though we all, to your question, we all knew this stuff went on. But if you're not advising the person and you're not close to the person, they would ostracize you like, are you crazy?
Oh,
Yeah, they would.
Oh, yeah.
They would.
Yeah.
You know, I used to pray with him at Howard. I used to pray. Johnny Cochran asked me to come.
Really? Wow.
Johnny Cochran asked me to come to the trial for Shine. Johnny represented Puff.
Right.
Wow.
Shine was represented, I think, by Ian Niles or somebody from New York. But Johnny and a publicist named Terry Williams had me come to the trial as like Howard moral support. And I went 1 or 2 days, but clearly I knew what was up. But I went, talked to Puff in the lobby, you know, tried to give him a hug. I went to see him in Raising in the Sun, brought a group of kids from Bridgeport. And he tried to pull this, he not coming out, he not speaking. I said, where the dressing room at? I went straight to the dressing room. Felicia Rashad was on the show. I went right by her dressing room, found Puff, said, hey, man, what you doing? And he back there picking his hair. Remember we had the little TWA, Afro? And I was doing this with, I said, man, I got 20 kids, 30 kids out here from Bridgeport, man. This ain't what we do at Howard.
Exactly.
And he was like, oh, okay, man, I'll be right out, James. And he came out and he loved it. He sat with those kids for like 2 hours. I never forget, my son was probably 10 or 11 at the time.
Wow.
He still tells that story. Like, Dad went backstage and was like, and this was before I was even on Broadway. I'm still like tripping, like, how did I get backstage?
Yeah.
But I got back to his dressing room and just tapped the door and said, hey, man, HU, what we doing? Because we call each other HU. You ain't Puff. You ain't Felicia Rashad. You ain't Debbie Allen. You ain't none of these big names that have gone to Howard, Raji. You HU.
Yeah.
Because Sean Reed, when I see him in town, he's the former mayor here, but to me, you HU.
Yeah.
You can flex, you know, to the general public, but we all knew you when we were all standing in the lunchroom line broke. Or trying to get our registration done in the A building. So Puff came out, and I was always like felt a certain closeness because we both promoted shows. We both were making more money on campus than anybody. But I was just always in church Sunday morning. I was always with my frat brothers, always with a crew that just kept me, you know, in check. Because we all go through the ego thing, all of us. And that group just told me, like, you're on your way, but chill. Like, you know, I'm 20 years old with an assistant, secretary doing all that. But that older group would check you and say, oh, calm down.
My father passed years ago, but
Sorry about that.
he was a reverend, and he always said, what he said, gain the whole world and lose your soul.
That's right.
You know, so it was like, I mean, when you look at Puff, all the money in the world, all the accolades, the success. I mean, a Jersey kid growing up, young executive, taking meetings in New York and getting a glimpse of Puff and getting to meet at Bad Boy and Harv and all of these Phil, you know, all of these guys in that era of time. To see where you are now, whoa, no.
I'm going to say this, Arturo, it can be fixed, but Puff would have to listen, and I'm not sure if he would listen. Like if he brought me in and said, hey, man, fix this, we would go one by one with each victim and try to fix it.
Exactly.
And I would be clear with him, jail is on the table.
Right.
You might have to do some time on it.
Right.
But there's a way with your money and your resources and your plugs that you could come out of this and be the most successful comeback, historical comeback, better for it.
Take it. It's all for the world. We seen it. We saw it.
50 something.
Right.
So if your next 20 years you rededicate yourself, get off media, get out the music industry, go do some good stuff. You got a school in Harlem that has your name on it. Here's Capital Prep in Harlem. It's a spinoff from the one in Hartford. My friend Steve, Dr. Steve, the principal teacher who's on CNN, he runs it. Wow. He has one in Hartford where everybody graduates, 100% go to college. So he partnered with Diddy to do one in Harlem, which is one of my dreams, that we do a typical school like that here in Atlanta. But they took his name off it after this stuff came out. They totally removed his name, as did 18 other, I think, corporate situations remove his name or cut ties with him. But he can come back from this. I think he could come back. It's just, will Diddy listen? When you see his kids making these records right now and sticking their middle fingers up and doing stuff that you're like, they're not getting what's going on. They're not reading the tea or reading the tea leaves. Because y'all should not be releasing videos talking about the FBI raided the wrong room.
No way.
Or the wrong house.
No way.
But I think they really think that they're gonna get it. He's gonna get away with it. Like, but I know it's way bigger.
It's way bigger.
Yeah, it's bigger. Like you said, time's up.
Time is up. Time is up. So it's a sad thing because you got all this money and you can't go out to a restaurant tonight without somebody wanting to beat you because guys want to put their hands on him.
Yeah.
Rightfully
yeah,
so.
Yeah.
A lot of fathers
Yeah.
want to put their hands on him.
Yeah.
And black men.
Yeah.
So with that being said,
yeah.
we're going to segue a little bit. We got another big case, and I would love your opinion on it.
Okay.
With the Young Thug trial.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you've been following that, but it's been postponed indefinitely. And while they determine if the judge should recuse himself, what are your thoughts about the trial so far?
I think the judge may have to recuse himself.
Yeah.
I've gone before that judge. I've won a couple times in front of that judge. Did a high-profile divorce in front of that judge, and it's been published. So I can share. I did Leandra Johnson's divorce in front of that judge.
Wow.
Oh,
major
she's
gospel
amazing.
Yeah.
She gives me chills. Just
Yeah.
oh man.
Well, I handled
yeah.
her divorce, and he gave us everything we wanted. I always say there are no winners in divorce,
Right.
but he was very fair judge to us, and he's a no-nonsense judge. I never forget a funny story. He was giving me a ruling I wanted, and I started going, "That's right, Your Honor. Mm-hmm. Amen." And he said, "Mr. Walker, I don't need an amen corner. This is my courtroom."
Ooh.
And all I did was
Put
just
you
like,
back in your
I just
place
was like,
real quick.
nodding him on
Right.
as he was reading the other guy, like, "And you didn't do this, and I told you to do this, and you're supposed to do this, right? You know what? I'm gonna give Mr. Walker what he's asking for." And I'm starting like, "That's right. Thank you, yeah, Your Honor." And I'm just cheering him on. That man stopped and said, "I don't need an amen corner in my courtroom." And I was like, "That's the first time a judge ever, said that." And I said, "You're right, Your Honor."
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Sorry. Yep.
But he's a no-nonsense guy. But on a serious note to your question, for a case of this magnitude,
Yeah.
you have to be flawless as an attorney. When we sued her twice, I said to our whole team, we can't make mistakes here.
Yeah.
The whole industry's watching us.
Yeah.
When we did the
Oh,
112 case, I said we can't make mistakes. When I sued Sony for our law firm, you do know I sued Sony for tampering with my clients.
Wow.
Ooh,
They were
Wait.
telling black artists in 2005 not to hire us.
Wow.
And we got a copy of emails and started reading stuff and seeing, what? And they were telling them not to hire us because we have these popular albums called Wow albums in the gospel industry.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
the top
yeah.
compilation.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
getting guys paid like full money, what we call full copyright, where you
Okay.
make 9 cents for every CD. So if
Wow.
the CD goes platinum, you're going to get about $100,000, a little less than 100. So I'm getting all these writers paid through the gazoo. So the labels get word of it, and they're starting to tell the artists, like, "Hey, don't use him. We don't like him. We want you to use him over here because they can control him over here."
Yeah.
Their boy, who's
Yeah.
in their pocket. Same thing Bad Boy was doing. Bad Boy was trying to get the artists to use attorneys that Puff kind of could control because those attorneys wanted other deals from Puff.
Yeah.
I've never been that entertainment lawyer. If I'm representing you and we're doing a deal right now with So Def or Aftermath or Bad Boy or Sony, I'm getting you the best deal. I'm not going in
That's
there
it.
trying to say, "Well, if you give Rashida this, I'll give him, I'll take less for him." No, I'm not compromising. So Wow album comes about. We're doing that for years, from 1999 to 2005. Every gospel artists are making more money than they ever made because of us, right? And then all of a sudden, one by one, they start firing us. And we
Wow.
couldn't figure out why. We're like, well, we're getting them big money. And it wasn't a firing. It was more of a, "Hey, man, I'm going to use you on some other stuff. But my music stuff, I don't know if I want you to be involved with my Sony deal or my Verity deal or my whatever deal." So when it happened so many times, we finally got together as a team, got our legal team together, filed a federal action, won the action.
Wow.
And that's when I learned, like, when you do these high profile matters, you cannot date the prosecutor. Y'all can't be seeing each other on the side.
Right.
If she's a lawyer and I'm on case where we can't have some side friendship.
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta be totally above the board, particularly if you of our color, of our hue,
Yes.
and you're black. You just can't. So to have a judge take a meeting with a witness without the other lawyer, that I can't call a judge and say, "Hey, can you meet with me and my client Arturo without opposing counsel there?"
Like, how do you
can't
even
do
phrase that? Yeah.
You can't do that. So I think this judge is in some serious trouble with regards to even the judicial panel that reviews their conduct.
Yeah.
I think if the lawyer is smart after this case for a young thug,
Yep.
they're going to probably take this to a higher level when the case is over.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
but I think it's totally also tainted the process a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is this a jury trial? Or is it just judge? Just judge?
No, this is jury.
It's a jury?
Yeah,
But
It's
jury.
become like a joke
Yeah.
almost too.
Yeah.
Because even the one that they just let go, I think his name is Woody.
Woody, yeah, Lil Woody.
And the questioning was such a joke. Like, he would answer the questions like, "Your breath is stinking, get out my face," or something like that. Like, all of it has been like a joke. Literally, it's
wow.
been very entertaining in the courtroom.
Wow.
And the fact that the judge made that lawyer, Young Thug's lawyer, go to jail
Yeah.
was crazy. Just because he wouldn't reveal how he found
Yeah,
out.
he found out at the meeting. Yeah, you can't reveal your source. He did the right thing.
Yeah.
People know me. I would have went to.
Yeah.
I would have said, Your Honor, let me just call my girl and let her know I won't make dinner tomorrow.
Exactly.
And I would have went right with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have to do that. But to your specific question, I just think it's going south because people are not moving with a polish. That case, the Trump case, there's a certain polish you have to have out here. It's one of the reasons like I haven't done a lot of interviews. I don't go to every event. I don't do the strip clubs thing in this town because to me, all of that brings my certain brand to a certain potential.
Yeah, potential. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to be at every party. I don't want to be at every invite. I want to be at my son's baseball game.
And I mean, do you really want to see your attorney, your legal advisor, the person that's going to get you the money, get you out of shit?
At everything.
Right.
No way.
I used to have a question when I trained, and I've trained, to your point earlier, I've trained probably 120 lawyers. And about 30 or 40 of them are doing entertainment law now. Some of the biggest names in this industry I've trained, and they got their chests out now. It's all good.
Yeah.
I pay tribute to Amy and Johnny because I believe you give homage to those who train you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I know everybody doesn't think that way.
Yeah.
But one of the things I always tell them is, do you want to be an entertainment lawyer or do you want to be Russell Simmons? When Russell was the man back in the day and had the cap turned backwards, the sneakers on, the jeans, a lot of entertainment lawyers were trying to be Russell or Diddy or Dre. And we go to parties and you couldn't tell who was the lawyer and who was the artist.
Who was who, yeah.
Who was who. And I
Wow.
would say to my younger lawyers, like, look like a lawyer, sound like a lawyer, walk and talk like a lawyer when you're in these rooms. Don't try to be so hip and cool because that's not what the client needs and that's not what they want. They want you to be their lawyer. They want you to go home.
Yes.
You don't need to be drinking to 2, 3, 4 in the morning. If I go to an event, I'm in, I'm out. Carmen knows this when she sees me out. You don't see me like just hanging. I'll go to Avalon, Alpharetta, and lay low up there, out the way, and have my laptop with me and doing work. But you don't see me. I'm in Atlanta, but not in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And we are the only entertainment law firm that owns our own building.
Wow.
I just want to just make that
again.
clear.
Yeah.
And James, we got to get into the plays too. I mean, these Broadway musicals, I mean, they're legendary. So your company, please give us this. I mean, I know we've talked about so much, and we got to do it again.
Sure.
Of course, whenever you have time, we would love to do it again. But I want to hear, how did you get into this with the Broadway plays? Was that, I know you said years ago you were doing shows, so did it rehash itself years later?
I was doing shows. I started with Mama I Want to Sing when my first year of being a lawyer.
Wow.
I was advising Vi Higginson and her husband, Ken Egro. I think that's his last name, Ken and Vi. And I was having clients in all of Tyler Perry's plays. I had Deatra Hicks, and other artists doing all those early Tyler Perry plays. So I was always around the play thing. Then I was Dave Talbot's attorney.
Wow.
And Dave was very young.
Powerful.
And I was trying to get Dave to do what Tyler was doing, like get into all these Live Nation venues. And then I kind of went away from it and started just representing the production companies, the actors. And one day I got a call from a Spelman sister that I knew well. And she said, you should meet Aaliyah Jones Harvey. And I said, who's that? She said, she's a classmate of mine who produces The Temptations on Broadway. And at that time, The Temptations was winning Tony Awards and killing it 7 or 8 years ago. So I went to New York, met with Aaliyah. She brought her partner, Stephen Bird, along. They had a company called Front Row Productions. They retained me as counsel. I started advising them legally. And then one day they said, we're doing a play called Piano Lesson. Do you want to be in on it? And I said, well, who's in it? Sam Jackson, John David Washington, Denzel's son. And Denzel is one, I think, the executive producers. So I jumped in on that, put some money in it. We made money back, won all kind of awards, sold out every night. I think they invested $7 and made $17 million.
Amazing.
And then I went to one red carpet, and the first red carpet I went to, Magic Johnson, all these different people are there, Whoopi Goldberg, everybody's there. And I'm like, man, this Broadway thing is like, it's kind of dope. Like, I didn't know anything about Broadway. I knew the Chitlin Circuit black plays, Like I said earlier, I was doing Our Young Black Men Are Dying, and Nobody Cares, and Gunshots Fired, and those kind of plays where somebody's screaming. The advertisement was like, you heard like, pow, 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 Our Young Black Men Are Dying. Pow, mama, my baby. Nobody seems to care. I was doing those plays. Come to Howard's Crampton Auditorium or the Warner Theater, Stillwater Productions presents. And I thought I was killing it. I never knew there was this Broadway level. So fast forward 20 years later, they invite me to do Piano Lesson. then MJ comes up.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I just was like, wow. And at first I didn't jump on it. The first offering I missed. Then they had a couple more offerings come out, meaning like to invest and be a partner. Man, I jumped on them. I got word yesterday that our MJ the musical has done over $250,000 according to the trade, so I can share it. And we are top 25 of all time.
Wow.
Broadway musical. All time. Not just this year, all time.
I just hope you guys are hearing this. This is attorney James L. Walker, This Is It musical, of all times, the MJ. It's levels to it.
And I want to, in fairness, shout out. So we have MJ, Cabaret, Camelot, Sinatra the musical coming, Here Lies Love, and then and this, I told somebody the story earlier. I said, this sounds like when you're watching an MTV documentary, and they say, so I got the call from Quincy Jones, and he told me about a young boy, and he brought Arturo by. And he sang for me. They tell them they have like the silhouette black. They're in like a corner. They got like untitled former executive with so-and-so Quest record. So I feel that way when I tell this story because I got the call. Alicia Keys' mother called Stephen Bird, my partner, and said that there was this Hell's Kitchen play and there was a chance for us to be involved. And I got the call in London. We were doing MJ in London. And I get the call over there.
How was the response in London?
Oh, we've been sold out. We've had 100 shows.
Wow.
We just celebrated 100 shows. We just expanded London to next March.
Wow.
We're supposed to run this year. We just expanded 6 more months in London. Miles Frost, the Tony Award winner from Broadway, is hosting MJ, is the lead in MJ London.
Amazing.
So I got the call. They told us what kind of, investment it was. I called back over here, got my paperwork done, got our wires in. Next thing I know, Alicia Keys wins 2 Tony Awards.
Wow.
For Hell's Kitchen. I'm hanging out with her at the after parties, meeting her in Swiss for the first time.
Wow.
And it's just the full arc of it.
Yeah.
And to your point about her, her was my partner in Here Lies Love.
Are you serious?
And I missed the opening night when she came. I had came back to Atlanta for something. So I wanted her to see me outside of the lawsuit realm. To just shake her hand and say, we're partners on this.
Yeah.
We can talk, we cool. Yeah. But she's of Filipino heritage. And the play was a Filipino love story about Imelda Marcos and her husband. It was a really brilliant play called Here Lies Love. We have four Tony nominations for that one.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So,
she's a beautiful spirit too.
Seems like it.
Yeah, she's my client, especially when she was working on Color Purple.
Oh wow.
So I had to do her lashes a few times and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's nice.
She's beautiful.
Yeah, I gotta sit with her team at some point because after lawsuit, everybody's like this, and you have to kind of say it's just business, it's not personal.
Yeah.
But we have 10 plays now. In the last 2.5 years, I've joined. Our company has partnered with Front Row Production, the producers, and we're definitely the only black team on Broadway with 10 shows.
Wow.
Hands down. There's nobody.
2 questions for you, James. 2 questions for you. How was it when you first received your first deal and your commission was $1 million, or you made $1 million? How was that mentally? Black man, hardworking black man, accomplished black man. How did you feel? Did you have children at this point?
2 young children. There's 2 deals that come to mind. I signed Hezekiah Walker to the biggest publishing deal in the music industry.
Wow.
And when I was 20 something, and
Brooklyn.
he signed Brooklyn. And I was a fan of his growing up. Jesus is My Help.
Oh yeah.
All those big Hezekiah Walker songs. So we signed him to Lily Mac Publishing, 7-figure deal. We got the advance. We saw the numbers in the contract, all that. Got our commissions, and that kind of shook the industry up. That's why the hate started.
Wow.
Because that signal, like, this dude is getting gospel artists that kind of money.
Yeah.
We don't pay them like that.
Yeah.
So he got that deal, and then when I brought the Stanford house that Rakim lived in, I bought that house, I think spring of 2000 or 2001. And I was 68, 98, it's 33, 34.
Wow.
So at the time, the bank, this was the strangest thing. The bank sent me $1 million before the closing. So I had $1 million in my account, because back then, you could do these, they called them stated loans, where you could walk in a bank and say, I make $5 million a year. And they would run the application and give you a loan based on your stated income.
Okay.
There was no verifications.
Oh, wow.
That's how people got in these bad housing situations
Okay.
because banks were allowing you to walk in Ontario
and they couldn't
buy
afford
an
it.
$800,000 house in Alpharetta.
Got you.
And you misrepresenting what you represented.
Wow.
And it all fell apart when you couldn't pay the mortgage
Yeah.
because you didn't actually make that kind of money.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of people got in trouble here in Atlanta back in
Wow.
the early 2000s. So the bank sent us $1 million buying this home, and I looked up, we had $1 million in the bank. And that just, for a kid from Bridgeport, it was like,
Yes.
and now, we obviously, millions and millions in assets, so it's different.
Yeah.
But back then it was like
Yeah.
wow, like it just was mind boggling. You feel like you made it. You call your mama and you say, Mom, anything you need,
Yeah.
Right.
And mothers are the same. Mothers don't get impressed. They go, well, baby, that's nice.
Exactly.
Keep your heart right with God.
Make sure
Exactly.
make sure you tie. Make sure you praying fast. Like mothers just stay right there.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, I told her, I
Like,
want her to say, I want her to say, like, let's go buy a car, let's go do
Right.
something. But because they're that calm, you end up learning how to handle things that calm. Because when you get it, like now where I'm seeing checks coming in from our plays, we get paid, our dividends, our receivables, you just kind of take it on the chin, be like, okay, put that in that account. Okay, why that? Okay, how we doing here, babe? All right. You just kind of, it's just a part of life.
Yes.
You don't freak out. And even, with the money that Diddy has made, see, for me, that kind of money, we would have 15 schools right now.
Oh, yeah.
We would have a college. We would have 7 halfway houses.
Yeah.
So the money would come in. As soon as it comes in, we already know, okay, Rashida, what are we doing for the girls? All right.
Yeah.
Arturo, what are we doing for the boys?
Yeah.
All right, let's get the houses, the schools set up, the charter schools set up.
Yeah.
How many teachers we need?
Yeah.
Like the money would just, it doesn't become about padding our pockets. It becomes about how can we just empower all these people. I want to look up in 10 years and see that we've empowered thousands.
Absolutely.
That's why I mad respect for Oprah. She's the only person in this entire industry that when she walked by me at Alicia Keys opening night, I didn't know what to say. She was in the lobby with us with Gail King. I had hugged Gail, took a picture with Gail. She's Hartford. I'm Hartford Bridgeport. So I kind of, hey, Gail. Oprah comes by and I'm like, it's Oprah.
Oprah.
Freaking Oprah Winfrey.
Did you say hello?
Under my breath, I did, but now she didn't hear it.
gosh.
Under my breath, I was like,
I would have meet her so bad.
Yeah.
and she hung around all night. They had like a VIP room at the after party.
Wow.
Her, Gail, Michelle Obama, chilling.
I know that's right.
And I'm on the
Michelle
floor.
Obama.
I'm on the floor dancing with Alicia and Swiss, and not realizing the power people are over in this VIP tent,
Right.
and I'm with the producers. I should go and say hi at some point. So when I see the pictures the next morning, my partner Steven, he's smiling with Oprah and Gail and
and you
Alicia.
missed
and
it.
Because your boy Swiss was DJing, and
he's killing.
he was just killing it. So I'm on the floor and
Yeah.
I'm doing songs. I don't even know the words to, but New Yorkers are in my face doing this to me, and I'm coming right back at them. And I'm like, well, if you go point, I'm gonna point, and we all on the floor dancing. And I'm like, wow, this was. Everybody said it was the best opening night party for Broadway
Amazing.
ever.
Yeah.
And Swiss kept saying, y'all get out them VIP rooms and get my wife and get her out here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Alicia came out. She's dancing with us. We talking about taking the play to London and all this stuff. And she knew my partner Steven better. He's been on Broadway forever. So it's mind-boggling to your question, but it's also where God told you it would go.
Yeah.
If you lived right and did right.
Yeah.
And you pinch yourself when you wake up in the morning and somebody's texting you, hey man, I just saw MJ in London.
Yeah.
Or somebody's texting you, me and my girl just went to your museum. Oh my God. Or, or went to Hell's Kitchen or one of the other shows. You feel like you're really inspiring lives. And now it's about, okay, how do we take this money over here and set up these nonprofits over here?
Yeah.
That's the goal now.
Yeah.
That we know the money's going to come in. We know we're going to make, MJ's going to be around for the next 10, 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
It ain't going nowhere. It's going to go from top 25, top 15, top 10, probably top 5. When it's done, it's going to be right behind Hamilton, which is number 3 or 4.
Wow.
Yep.
It's Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Hamilton, Phantom of the Opera, Chicago, all of those are in front of us.
Wow.
Yes.
But MJ's going to come right up the chart once we get New Zealand open, Australia open, and all these other.
And guys, this is greatness talking. The bar is set high. You want to be great, it's achievable. We want to be great, it's achievable.
Thank you.
Attorney James L. Walker is definitely, such a humble man.
Thank you.
But so powerful.
Yes.
The move speaks for itself. It is motivating. We appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you. And Carmen Simmons for inviting me. I appreciate Carmen.
Oh, yeah.
I love everything that she's
The
about,
legend.
what she represents, how she carries it for the culture. So when she calls, I come in on a Friday after the 4th of July.
I know that's
anyone
right.
else, I would
Shout
be
out
like,
Carmen.
oh, I'm off. I'm not working today. I thought this was a Zoom. And I was like, oh, it's an interview. Okay. For Carmen, let's say, I went back to my schedule and said, oh, this is Carmen. Let's go.
And we have fan base, created by a black man, Isaac Hayes III, legendary son
I
of
love him.
the Isaac Hayes.
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, Mr. Walker, we have to ask for all the ladies out there. They want to know, are you married? Single?
They need to know. I think they want to know now because they heard the check. They heard that. The wires is going
I thought we were done. I thought we had wrapped up the show. I thought we were getting
We gotta put it on the record. We gotta know.
I divorced 10 years ago, and I spent probably the last. Oh, don't be sorry. It was my decision.
Did you handle it, by the way?
No, I hired Tanya.
Okay.
The best in town is Tanya Mitchell Graham, who really told me at the time this day would come. When it was rough going through that. And I pray for anybody going through breakups, whether you filed or she filed or you both filed. It's a tough time. I pray for the children because someone said this term to me. He said, when you divorce, it's like an earthquake for your children in their life. Their whole life just went like this. And I remember how hard it was for my children. Even to this day, it's still hard for some of my children. I have 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls. So I then spent the next 8 years raising my son. He was 11, my youngest son. Just making sure he got to
in college.
He's in college playing baseball. We hope he gets drafted, but he's content. He owns a house now.
I know that's right.
Yeah, his baseball teammates living in his house, paying him rent.
Yes.
So he's doing good. But so now that that's settled, now I'm like back dating and kind of like, okay, now it's time to remarry, settle down.
Is it serious?
Just dating? No, not serious.
Okay.
Why are you trying to
So
get me in trouble?
ladies,
Somebody,
I'm just putting it out there.
Some top tier ladies.
Right, it's some hope out there. It's nice black men still exist, ladies. Just letting you know that.
Nah, I praise you. My mother, every time I talk to mom, I don't know how she gets to that subject. Like, we could be talking about Oprah, Wheel of Fortune, and somewhere in the conversation she'll go, so I get a daughter-in-law yet? And I say, Mom, chill. I always say, did I get a father-in-law or stepdad? She's like, he's not your father-in-law. He would be your stepfather. I jokingly told her one day, I said, Mom, you could date Bob now. At this age,
right.
She's in her 70s. I'm like, I give you a pass now.
Right.
All of after I went to Martha's Vineyard, all of that radicalness in me is now.
Yeah.
So, but no, I'm praising God, and I know that's in God's hands. I don't kind of worry about that stuff. I let God handle that. Right now, we grinding, we building. Maybe grinding ain't the right word, but we building. Yeah. We trying to just get things set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're trying to, I really want to get a charter school and the halfway house back up because I feel there's just a need for that, and trying to find partnerships with people doing that kind of work. Because now the money will take care of itself now.
Yeah.
The law firm's in autopilot, Broadway's in autopilot, the museum's in autopilot. I don't even have to touch these things. People will work, make their living, and touch lives with those entities. Now for me, it's like, okay, God, you gave me all of this.
Yeah.
I see what my classmate is struggling with.
Yeah.
Some of my classmates that have gotten, I say, intoxicated.
Yeah.
Keep me humble, Lord. Keep my 10 toes down.
Yeah.
So that we can stay focused on the mission, which is
we need you
to change lives.
We need you. We need you. We need you.
Absolutely. So thank you for. I don't think I've ever been asked that in an interview.
Well, it's the first time for everything, but maybe you'll have some DMs coming your way.
Oh,
for some eligible candidates.
She's just on a roll. So let me just direct the traffic. So have y'all seen MJ the musical? Let me just try to get. It's a great play.
He's getting so shy, ladies. He's blushing and everything.
We have it in London, Broadway.
So you're gonna take them to go see it in London?
Anyway.
So are we gonna take this shot with Mr. Walker?
Yeah, we got to shout out Uncle Nearest. We got to take the shot for Uncle Nearest, black owned. We're in Atlanta. We're in Georgia. We got to take this shot.
Now, I do want to pump up Fawn Weaver, my friend who's behind that. That's her company.
Oh, okay.
Shout out Dawn Weaver.
Okay, I'm going to try it.
Yeah,
okay.
Fawn she is the one behind all of this.
Okay.
She's just brilliant.
Have you tried it before?
I've never tried it before. Somebody sent me a bottle to my office.
Okay.
And we gave a gift to our tenant who rented our building. We gave her.
We should have started this at the beginning to see how he would have acted. Well, thank you so much for coming and being our special guest today, especially after the holiday. We really appreciate you. And until next season.
Yeah.
We're going to find out if we're going to open up some schools, go see the play.
Yes.
I can't wait to hear what you got going on next season. So thank you again for joining us, Mr.
Thank you.
Walker.
Thank you all
It's
for
been a
having me.
pleasure. Thank you. Are you ready
All
to
right,
take
we
this
going
shot?
out with the shot on
Yes.
the record. All right.
Yes,
all right,
let's
all
take
right.
this
I'm
shot.
to Fawn Weaver,
Yes.
Uncle
Yes,
Nearest.
Fawn Weaver,
Yes,
thank
Fawn
you.
Weaver.
Everybody got to drink it.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see you drink it. Ooh.
I didn't drink.
But before we wrap, can you tell us where we can find you or
sure.
where we can go look up tickets for the plays and stuff like that?
Our websites, I'll give two. For MJ, it's mjthemusical.com.
Okay.
And for our museum, it's museumofbroadway.com. And then, of course, Hell's Kitchen Broadway is Alicia Keys' play that just won a couple Tonys. And then me personally, I'm on Instagram, James Walker Jr. ESQ.
You heard that,
James
ladies.
Walker Jr. James Walker Jr.
Shout
ESQ. And I'm on Facebook as Attorney James L. Walker
Y'all
Jr.
got to come correct,
Thank
though.
you. Thank
know?
you. Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
And I want to salute you guys. This is probably one of the best interviews I've ever been a part of.
wow.
Your questions, your research. I appreciate that you took that much time and thought my story worthy enough
Oh, it's an
to
honor.
share it. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I
Absolutely.
hope one person gets inspired from this or touched and follows their dreams. I'm just a kid from Bridgeport, single black mom, had me at 18 and taught me to dream. Never did I see where we are now. I knew we'd be okay
Yeah.
because you believe in good things, but I didn't see like what the kids, and I want to make sure the kids are killing it. I got to thank my kids
Yeah.
because they inspired me. I got 2 attorneys, a realtor, and a baseball player, and more importantly, 4
Wow.
just good people.
Wow.
For how they grew up, they're very grounded.
Yeah.
They're very thoughtful. They're volunteering. They're helping people. My older son has given out, I think, 100 book scholarships.
Wow.
You know, which for his age is kind of impressive.
Very
Wow.
And
impressive.
his sister is won the Fulbright. She's been, I think, overseas serving. His other brothers volunteering. Like they're all just good people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you grew up in the business, you know, most of the children of successful people in our business turn out to be entitled
Assholes.
and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
buttholes. Yeah, just, you know, for no other reason than
Yeah.
they grew up, you know, rich or with money. But our kids, salute to my ex-wife that one thing we got
Yeah.
right was just that these kids, they are really good kids.
Yes.
They really are out here, not just, well, dad's giving us this, you know, dad gave me 100. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go buy this new car. You know, they're not doing that. They're really out trying to change lives. And I want to make sure I recognize and appreciate them because they drive me to be better.
Yes.
Wow.
I never want to do anything. People say, why didn't you cheat when you were in the industry? I said, I never wanted the young man in my family to see that. I never wanted my sons to see that that was cool.
Yeah.
We all know
That's
it's
deep.
wrong because it's wrong.
Yeah.
But I never wanted them to be able to say, well, you know, dad had a girl that, you know, when he was in LA at the Grammys, he was always, you know, I never wanted them to be those dudes.
I love
You know,
Yeah.
that. Well, thank you again.
thank you.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Cheers.
Thank
And
you.
until next
Fawn
time.
Weaver.
Fawn Weaver.
Miss
Yes.
Fawn
Yeah.
Weaver, thank
All
you.
right, now I got it right because I said Dawn.
Yeah,
You know
Fawn.
what?
She's that
You
one.
know
You talk
what?
about inspiration. Fawn is that one.
I'm gonna look her up.
Look her
Shout
up
out
ASAP.
Fawn Weaver.
We might have
Uncle
to get her
Nearest.
on here.
And
too.
they are $1 billion brand. So she and I have this thing where we're always comparing our brands, MJ and this one, and she's at $1 billion.
I know that's
Wow.
right.
And I think MJ will be there in 2 or 3 years.
Oh yeah. I saw
It
that.
will.
I
It's
saw,
not
yeah,
no
I saw your
fake. It
evaluation.
is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you said to the judge, amen. Yes.
But
All
thank
right.
you guys for tuning in. I am Arturo, and my beautiful host is
Rashida Nicole. So thank you. Until next time for On the
On
Record.
the Record.